Problem 551. Find the inverse of each of the following functions by first switching x and y and then solving for y. So you're practicing the method that you were using in class today. Letter A, we've got y equals x squared plus 3. So our first order of business here is to take our x and y values and switch them. So we should now have x equals y squared plus 3. Now we need to solve for y. Well, to get y by itself, I don't take the square root yet, so, hold off on pulling that trigger. Let's get rid of the 3 first. Subtract your 3 from each side, and we're looking at the expression x minus 3 is equal to y squared. Now, how do we undo something that's being squared? We take the square root. So when I take the square root of y squared, I also have to take the square root of the other side. And the square root of anything that is being squared should leave us with the absolute value of y equals the square root of x minus 3. And to get our y out of our absolute values, remember, we're saying here that y could be a positive version of this or the negative version of this to make that true. So we have positive or negative square root of x minus 3 should equal y. That is our inverse function here. Now, how could we check it? Well, you could take a value, plug it in, and let's see here. Let's do it. Why not, right? Let's plug in something fun like 2. If we plug in 2 here, we're going to say y equals 2 squared plus 3. 2 squared is 4, plus 3 is 7, so y equals 7. So we're saying that's the point 2, 7. Which means if this is truly our inverse, we should be able to take our 7, plug it back in here, and end up with 2 being our output. So we can say the positive or negative version of 7 minus 3 should equal what we're looking for here. 7 minus 3 is 4. Our square root, so we're talking about positive or negative, well, we're thinking about the positive one here. It's equal to 2. So square root of 4 is 2, which equals 2. So we know that we've got the correct equation for our inverse here. All right, that was fun. Let's move this out of the way now so we have room for other problems. Letter B. We have y equals 1/4 x plus 6, and we're taking that quantity and raising it to the third power. So first things first, let's rewrite it with x equals 1/4 y plus 6 to the third power. First thing we need to get rid of here would be the cube, because there's nothing going on outside of here. So we're going to need to do the cube root of each side. So we're looking at the cube root of x equals 1/4 y plus 6. And as we try to solve this for y, remember we have 1/4 of a y and we're adding 6 to it. So we're going to have to get rid of that 6 first. So we're looking at the cube root of x minus 6 is equal to 1/4 times y. Last step here, let's take it, and if we want to make it a whole y, we're going to have to multiply it by 4. Multiply this side by 4. And we end up with 4 times the quantity of the cube root of x minus 6 equals y. Now, some people might be like, well, why don't I take my 4 and multiply everything, inside by it? You can do that if you want, but it's unnecessary. Okay, it's unnecessary. We were just looking at for the inverse, and this is the inverse. We don't need to go any further. So we've got letter B. Now let's do the last one here. Let's go into C. We've got y equals the square root of 5x minus 6. Let's undo the square root of 5x minus 6 by squaring each side. Oh wait, look, I made a mistake, right? What did I forget to do? That's what happens when you rush. I forgot to swap out my x's and y's. Now, if I would have kept going, it would have been fine. I could have gotten to the end. I would have just solved it for x instead of y, and then I could have switched them at the end. It wouldn't have been a huge mistake or anything. I could have gotten away with doing that. But since we're practicing, let's make sure we're doing it the way that we were taught. So, back to it. Now we're going to square each side. So we're looking at x squared equals, and remember, when you square a radical, there's no need for absolute value. I know that some people get all excited and they want to put absolute values everywhere now, but it's not necessary. Go ahead and add our 6. We're just on cruise control now. This is pretty easy stuff. Get y by itself. Let's divide by 5. So we end up with x squared plus 6 all over 5 equals y. And that is our final inverse that we're looking for on this problem. If you have questions, make sure you ask your teacher. This is problem 551. This is Mr. Boyd. I am moving on.